we do a serious one.
Yeah.
So joining you live from the World Championship 2023 in Barcelona, the Living Legend podcast.
Okay, cool. Well, let's just get started. How's it going, everyone? And welcome back to the Living Legends podcast, your weekly source of flesh and blood talkery. My name is Kel, also known as Red Zone Rogue, and I am joined, as always, by Bill from the Spike Feeders. Hello, Bill. How are you doing today?
Hello, I am doing well, and I am Bill. Nice to see everybody today. We have a few cool things to talk about. We're sort of just coming up onto I guess we are officially in the spoiler season for Rosetta. But even outside of that, there are additional very cool things that we can talk about. So yeah, excited to go through that and see what your guys' thoughts are on some of them.
Yeah, and before we do that, we have the other voice in the podcast. We have Az from Go Again Gaming. Az, how are you doing today?
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's going to be a good one. There's a lot of spoilers out there, as Bill said. I watched Tommy Fresh's spoiler today as it premiered. So he did a funny video with Dead Summer Art was doing the voice of Florian, I think, as well. No,
nice.
Or he was doing the voice of the skull that Tommy was talking to in the video. So yeah, that was fun. So go and watch that. But yeah, loads of spoilers coming out. It's a little bit more condensed this time round. So yeah, congrats to all the new people that are getting them. And yeah, there's going to be a lot of excitement when people are opening the new cards as well, because we're not going to be seeing all the power stuff, I imagine. I think they're holding a lot of it back. A lot of the cards that are being spoiled, like rares and commons and stuff.
Yeah.
Including your one as well, Bill, which you got.
It's
a lot of.
Sorry.
I was going to say, yeah, a lot of Runeblade cards that care about rune chants, obviously. So Viserai players are probably looking at this. Vinset players are probably looking at all of these as well. Not just the Runeblades that we get in the set, but also the old school Runeblades as well might be looking at some of these cards. So let us know in the comments below if you are looking at some of the ones that have been spoiled so far, and potentially more.
Yeah, we're going to go over all the new spoilers today, as well as talk about the newly announced Dash Armory Deck. Dash IO specifically, Armory Deck. And for the spoilers for Rosetta, I think it's really interesting. Both neither Az nor I got a spoiler this time around. It's actually the first time I've ever not gotten one. Not a really big deal for me. Just something that I was like, oh, this is interesting. And most of the cards, like Az said, are commons and rares, and it really does feel like they're doing this mostly to prepare people for pre-release and for the world premiere event. So they kind of have an idea of limited archetypes, and they're holding all of like the Majestics for the most part back. There's still some Majestics that have been spoiled, but a lot of them have not been. So that's kind of what it feels like to me.
I like that though. I like it. So, you know, you can see the core mechanics of the set, like decompose and like other things as well that are in the set. But you don't get these groups of pro players and teams like conglomerating together and saying, right, these are the best cards you need to get for your pre-release so you can spike your pre-release and all this. You know, I like the fact that these so-and-so pro players will have to figure these things out on the go as they're playing the pre-releases, rather than just, you know, looking out for certain cards, pack one, pick ones, and this is what you should do. I like it. I do. It'll be interesting to see how it turns out, but I do like this format.
I feel like that's probably going to happen anyway right after the world premiere, because the world premiere there's also going to be like box opening videos and stuff, and I imagine the full set will likely be spoiled and up online after that, and then you'll have all the pros like jamming games and like Talishar or whatever, so they can dunk on all the people at the pre-release events.
So, I guess at that point, after the world premiere, the pre-releases wouldn't have happened yet, so I guess you would still have that information at the pre-release. But the world premiere, they're saving it for the excitement moments, the fabled and the, you know, these new cards that we haven't seen yet. I guess we're still going to get that feeling, so that's nice.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, they kind of used to do that a little bit, and some other games that I partake in also did that, which was just an awesome experience. So I'm not going to be going to the world premiere event for Rosetta, but if you are, you should look forward to that. It's always a great time. So, especially when
Tampa.
Yeah, especially when you don't know what the cards are. So, yeah, with that said, let's go to our week in Flesh and Blood, and then we can jump into some comments of the week, and then we will get into all of the spoilers and Dash deck. And that's going to be the general outline for the episode today. So, my week in Flesh and Blood... not much, actually. I think I'm just going to mulligan this one and pass to the other guys and see if they have something relevant to talk about.
Just draw a new hand. Well, you can't draw a new hand in Flesh and Blood. You have to actually block and then draw up at the end of your turn. So there's no mulligans. What there is to a certain degree, but
yeah.
But yeah, for me, it's been editing League That Means Nothing games. So round 3 televised matches have started. So that's on Go Again Gaming. So round 3s are out. Are going to start coming out soon. But yeah, thoroughly enjoying just making lots of CC content and allowing people to watch games that aren't necessarily the meta at large. So that is still continuing, still going strong, and people seem to be enjoying it still. So yeah, going to be doing it all over again for season 3 as well with Rosetta Heroes legal. So stay tuned for that. That's on Go Again Gaming. But apart from that, not much else really. Just enjoying the spoilers as they come out and seeing what people have got. Basically. Nice.
How about you, Bill? You got a week of deeds in Flesh and Blood?
I think Bill's frozen.
Oh, he might be.
I think my computer crashed.
He is. So. It looks like he's just like really, really thinking.
Well, oh my god, that's brilliant. So while Bill's restarting his computer, we got a Walt Disney of Bill right now. He's just frozen solid. And
yeah, don't worry, we'll resurrect him. We'll reanimate him in time. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll use Resurrection Scroll. What's it called? I've been playing Baldur's Gate again recently.
Oh, just a Scroll of Resurrection. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, to revive him in the area. Here he comes. He's coming back. I think we might have to adjust the overlays a little bit here. But this is the reason why you should go over to the Living Legends podcast YouTube channel, because you see this live as it happens. So we've had a few glitches recently.
Yeah, well, it's all good. It's all right.
Back.
It's Bill's back. It just looked like you were super serious for a little while because you were frozen, but you weren't frozen at a weird, awkward one. You're just like
just staring
like yeah,
listening intently. But
it's called being a good listener.
Yeah,
that was fantastic.
Yeah.
And yeah, before we throw it over to Bill, if he's got anything there, thanks to everybody who's brought us up to 400 subscribers now on the YouTube channel.
Okay.
Legends Podcast.
All right, everyone. We need to have a talk. All right. So we have 400 subscribers here, but I couldn't help but notice that the last episode almost had 1,000 views. That means 600 of you have not subscribed. So how about you go and click the subscribe button? It does really help. It helps push out the videos more. YouTube really cares about that kind of stuff. It cares about views, but it also factors in watch time, retention, as well as subscriber counts in regards to algorithm junk. So subscribing really does help, and it's free and stuff, and you get to see all of our episodes in the feeds every single week, so you should go do that.
Yeah, go and do that. And we've already promised that we're going to do a live stream when we hit 500 subscribers. So if we hit 1,000 subscribers,
it's real close.
I'll wear a pair of pants. I'll wear a pair of pants on my head for the entirety of a podcast episode if we hit 1,000 subscribers.
Now is that British pants or US pants?
So that's British pants.
Nice.
So for the international listeners, these are also known as Y fronts or briefs, potentially.
Underwear. He's gonna wear these. Yeah, he's gonna wear some.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'll wear a pair of pants on my head for a whole episode if we get to 1,000. So there we go. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
you got anything going on?
Yeah.
Anything going on, Bill?
So once again, the entire world is left in shock. I played some Flesh and Blood this past week. This past weekend was our local LL skirmish.
Sick. Yeah.
And unfortunately, I didn't get to play in it because I was camping. But friend of the channel, friend of mine, Kaylee, was going to be bringing out Starvo because she's Always been a very big fan of our big gay dad, as she calls him. And just wanted to get some reps in, because the last time she'd gotten to play him was the last Pro Quest that he was actually a legal hero. So So yeah, we played a few rounds. I was playing Living Legends Chain.
Nice.
Deck is extremely fun. Seeds of Agony, not an okay card.
Well, it's just a 0. It does 1 arcane damage. It's fine.
Yeah, there's nothing else that interacts with whatsoever.
It's totally fair. Balance is fine.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Like Rosetta Thorn, crazy. I wasn't able to fully charge up Swarming Gloomveil in any of the games, but I very frequently went with 2 modes, which is a 0 for 4 go again, which is pretty good, all things considered. Especially when you're able to just ramp it in for free. Being able to play with the full complement, or I don't know if this deck ran every Plunder Run it could, but being able to play with Plunder Run again in CC was kind of nuts. Yeah, there was one turn where unfortunately she was able to fully block out, but I had double Plunder Run active for the turn, which being able to draw 2 cards when you're chain is kind of crazy.
That attack up go again as well. So if it hit, you would have drawn 2 and been able to carry on.
Yes.
Or was it just,
all of my attacks that turn. Like with Chain, I was able to pretty consistently go 3 wide. You can give go again to like 2 things usually pretty easily. But then you also have I ended up using one of Art of War's lesser known modes to give your next attack a go again. One time when my hand was like super awkward and it like ended up panning out. You can of course do Spellbound Creepers shenanigans. Deck is super fun. I'm a big fan of Chain, and it was actually it was a good time. Even though getting casinoed by Starvo still feels the same as it ever did.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah, but even with that being said, the games were all like pretty close. I think there was one where because we played I think 3 or 4 games. There was one game where Kaylee unfortunately didn't get Starvo online with any attacks that actually like provided pressure, because of course there's like Starstruck, Crippling Crush, Oakenold, all these things that can do just insane damage to your opponent in both physical damage and damage to like their resources. But it was all like, it was just like, oh, evergreen for 9, and it's like, okay, I'll take it. So there was one game where it didn't quite line up, but then I think she was able to do an Oakenold for 11 Dominate go again, fused, followed up by an Icy Hammer. It was like, okay, I died.
Oh, the good old days.
Yeah.
This is what I don't understand. Like, I don't understand why Bravo just doesn't do very well, because in a meta that doesn't really want to block anything, all of his Crippling Crushes, Starstrucks, Spinal Crushes, I don't understand why Bravo just doesn't exist when he's got, ridiculous on hit, huge fridge.
I don't think we want to get too much into this, but I think it's just because Zen does way, way, way more damage and just kills him.
Yeah.
It's a ninja that has 7 armor. Like, what's the crack with that? A ninja should not have 7 block on equipment.
One that also blocks and goes and tutors for more resources and stuff.
I think that there's kind of been some chatter, and we were kind of mentioning this just before the podcast started, but I guess this technically rolls us into one of the sort of main topics that we had for today. But Brian Gottlieb officially came on Twitter and was like, hey guys, we have Zen in our sights. Like, he's not going to ruin the Rosetta party. We will be doing something. We understand that he is overtuned, and it's like, okay, cool. Like, that they've acknowledged it officially, because they haven't up to this point. They've just been like, yeah, this is fine. And Zen dealing 60 damage turns. This is fine. Or they've officially said that it's not fine, rather, and that something's going to be done. And of course, that then spurs up the people, trying to figure out what the hits are, what is going to be changed, if anything, about Zen. currently popular one that I'm seeing floating around is potentially banning Art of War, but that has a bunch of like kind of unintentional extra hits. Like it nerfs a bunch of other decks that kind of don't deserve it, like Levia.
Oh, we're back on this argument where I've said multiple times, just ban a card in a hero, let the other heroes use that card. You ban Art of War in Zen. Problem not particularly solved, but you know at least Levia can still use it.
Yeah, and like Katsu
the other heroes of Art of War.
Yeah, like there are tons like Fi can use Art of War, and you know even with access to all of the bonds and Art of Wars and whatever, still ended up losing out to Zen. Zen was just that much better. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I like necessarily banning Art of War because again, it's kind of a card that a lot of different heroes can use, and it doesn't do quite as much work as it does in Zen. I would like a per hero ban. I think that it would make a lot of sense, especially right now. But I think the most realistic one that I've seen is just banning his boots. The fact that his boots are card advantage is kind of crazy, and it like is usually not what happens in the foot slot for a lot of heroes. It doesn't end up being raw card advantage. It's usually action point economy and not just an additional card in your hand. Even if it's, you know, what appears to be a worthless card, it just does so much work within Zen that it's just too strong, especially for like a common equipment. Like this card is so good. I think that's the one I would put my money on, is them doing something about the boots. Feels like a really easy ban that doesn't affect literally anybody else.
Yeah.
Yep, I have no idea.
Did I? I'm just making sure my computer like did a weird spinny out thing there. I'm not sure whether I disappeared at one point or
no,
not.
You're good.
No, yeah, I think you're good.
Yeah,
as long as you can still hear us.
No, that's right then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can still hear you. But yeah. Going off of that statement, I don't know. Without reading the statement in its entirety, I don't know whether you know or how they're going to combat this.
Well,
bans do seem. I don't know how they're going to combat it, but
they didn't even specifically say a ban. Like what Brian said was it was a Twitter post, right? And it was just like, hold on, let me try to find it. It wasn't like a ton because it was like, you know, a single Twitter post basically acknowledging it and also acknowledging that they've been aware of it for a while, which also begs the question, if they've known for a while, why haven't they done anything about it? But that's the different thing. So he says, just wanted to check in the interest of getting everyone back to enjoying preview season. Zen is too strong in every format. We are aware. We have been for a while, which means we've been hard at work on solutions. Zen isn't going to overshadow Rosetta. We're all aligned. So that's basically what they've said, or what Brian Gottlieb specifically has said. So they've known about it for a little while. Yes. Apparently they've been working on a fix. Maybe they've been testing a lot of different fixes. Maybe that's why it hasn't happened yet. Maybe maybe it's like a more complicated thing than we imagine, and maybe banning one thing dunks the deck too hard or something. I don't know. Maybe they're trying to. I mean, like at the end of the day, Part of the Mistveil is like the latest set up until we get Rosetta, and they don't want to like ban the deck out of existence because that just makes a third of the new set completely like useless. So you know, they have to be careful about what they do, and I think they're aware of that. And I have no opinion on what they should do. I don't really know how to play Zen, so but you know, I'm sure they'll make a good enough decision on it, and hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, we've seen more proactive and unique tailored bans like the bonds, like getting rid of yellows and blues. You know, that seems more complicated to me than saying, right, you cannot play Art of War in Zen. That seems more complicated to me than, you know, than just banning one card in one hero. Ultimately, I think, you know, people that play this game at a high level will know what's banned in the deck that they're playing. I don't think there's going to be instances of people turning up and being like, oh, damn, Art of War's banned in Zen. I didn't know that. You know, I don't think there's going to be instances of that. And if there are instances of that, it's not going to be at the high level, which is what matters here. So I don't think there's any downside to having a ban list, which is okay. This is banned in certain hero, but I've raved on this thread for God knows how long since Bullseye Bracers got banned in Lexi and Azalea caught the arse end of it.
I still have my same opinion, which is I think it's too messy, but you know.
Yeah.
I prefer clean ban lists. I don't want a Yu-Gi-Oh! I don't want a Yu-Gi-Oh! Ban list when it's like 3 pages long or something. I prefer it to be like clean, simple, and easy for everyone to get into. Because like Flesh and Blood is already a complicated enough game, and you already have to jump through enough hoops to play it at a high level. I don't know. It's just another thing to make it unapproachable to new players if they start doing weird crap like that. So I don't know. They can do whatever they want, though, at the end of the day, if they want to go for that path. I think James has been asked that question before, and he said he's against it, but we'll see what they end up doing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. We will see, but Brian obviously knows the issue, and clearly it is a big one because Zen's just dominating everything still, even after the ban that they put in place.
Yeah,
so we will see.
It's a weird spot to be in for Flesh and Blood, like as a game, because like they have already done bans for Zen. And they also have the Living Legend system as like a safety net to prevent things from getting too wild. So if
he's dominating Living Legend,
if they still have to like do stuff, I think something's gone like pretty wrong. to be honest, if they had like they already banned something and they're like, okay, the Living Legend system isn't enough to get this guy under control. Yeah, I don't know.
It's funny.
Yeah, I think it's crazy that considering how strong cards have been in the past, and like again, especially Starvo, the fact that Zen is able to still maintain superiority in a format like that is kind of terrifying.
I mean, I like it in Living Legend. I'll be honest with that. I as someone who enjoys I used to play Legacy Magic. I haven't played Vintage because I'm not rich, but. Like I really enjoy super high powered formats where everything is very, very strong. So I actually I'm one of the people for Living Legend. I'm just like, let it be crazy. But that's just me for Living Legend specifically. For standard or whatever you want to call it, CC, that's a different story. But yeah, I do think it's funny that Zen's trashing Living Legend too.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's ridiculous. He's got stubby hammers and all sorts, haven't they, in that format? Yeah. It's just like ridiculous.
Good old stubs.
Ridiculous. But yeah, there's a Chicago calling, isn't there, which is going to be Living Legend format, which I think is before Worlds. So it'd be interesting to see what happens in that event, like when people are actually taking it quite seriously at calling level. So it'd be interesting to see if Zen dominates that, or whether the fact that they've acknowledged Zen and whether they've decided to do anything about it happens before that. So, but yeah, that was one thing. We can jump into some of these comments. We'll just speed through them from last episode. So again, everybody who's listening to us or watching us on YouTube, thanks for leaving comments. We'll try and read out as much as we can, but obviously it takes up quite a chunk of the podcast these days. So we're going to try and trim it down as we sort of speed run to 1,000 subscribers. But yeah, thanks for all your comments. We're going to read through them as quickly as we can here. So going from the newest ones, Torfty Go 44770, just pointing out the fact that there's 2 rune charms in the set, 1 green and 1 yellow. So I'm not sure if we mentioned that before, but I think we have done. There's maybe not. There was
just mentioned the green one.
Chant, and now it's the lightning. Yeah, there's now a lightning one as well, like a lightning-esque Runeblade one for Aurora, I imagine. That's cool. Be interesting to see how that pans out, on how much rune chance Aurora cares about, or whether it's just arcane damage that's stapled onto her lightning flow-esque cards. Lunar Eclipse is saying this is an interesting one, so I think this could have some legs for people that are watching this or want to create their own fan-made formats, as we discussed last week. I do want a 2v2 format that is somewhat competitive. I would love to team up with a buddy. I love 2-headed giant for sealed in Magic. Since I no longer play Magic, I would like to see a 2-headed giant format. I think this could be quite good. As you say, Kel, you might have experimented with it with Ian in the past. Not sure what ideas you were workshopping at the time, but I think 2v2 tag team match could be decent as not only a team dynamic between you and a buddy fighting another team, but I think that could be a good format to flesh out if anybody is up for the challenge of doing it. But
I think so too.
It's a good idea.
2v2 is a really cool dynamic when it comes to playing. I guess like specifically Magic is the only time that I've actually experienced actual 2v2, but it's cool being able to like consult with a buddy to be like, I think I'm going to do this turn. Like that sort of dynamic is really cool, and it makes you feel like, I don't know, again, like you're part of a team, because you are. And that's something that Flesh and Blood kind of doesn't have. Kind of like we were saying last week, it is a lot more like you versus your opponent, and you are uniquely set up to just beat the ever-loving tar out of each other. So, so I think that could be cool. I like the idea of a 2v2 format.
But if you could physically block for you're basically a combined hand of 8 cards. But you're still attacking the life total of the opponent, but then you still work your turn on action points. So if you're one of you's a Runeblade and one of you's Bravo, for instance, you could be like, I'm going to attack with a Swarming Gloomveil, which is turned on, and then with the go again after this, I'm going to Crippling Crush. The other player says, I'm going to Crippling Crush after this. I reckon it could just be absolute nonsense. I don't know how you were playing it in the past, Kel, whether it was like, one player takes a turn at a time, or whether it's a combined turn like Two-Headed Giant, etc. But I think it could be quite fun. So
it was like tag team wrestling is what we were kind of workshopping, where you could like tag in your partner. Kind of like, think about it like tag team wrestling, but also like any fighting game that has like the partner mechanic, where you like tag in your partner. Think of it kind of like that. It's kind of what we were going for.
What, separate life totals and stuff?
Yeah, we've experimented with both.
Out in a fighting game.
Yeah, we experimented with both separate life totals and shared life totals. Yeah.
How did you tag in your team member? Was that an action, or did that cost anything? Do you remember?
Ian and I wrote a bunch about it. I don't remember exactly how it. I think it was like an action. Like, so you couldn't do it at instant speed, so you had to just do it like add an action with go again kind of situation. But you couldn't use you can only use the armor for your character, that kind of stuff. And I don't know, it could be cool. You could really experiment it with it. Like, you could do stuff where you can do like a bonus attack or something, kind of like the fighting games where you like hit a button and they do like their little extra attack. There's a lot of you can play around with it quite a bit. So far, Flesh and Blood LSS has been pretty conservative with like their game mechanics. It's all been pretty, within the parameters of Flesh and Blood, and I think people could experiment with it quite a bit. Yeah. I'm trying to find.
So I mean, back on the.
Go ahead. I'm gonna continue to try to find something.
Yeah. That's right, I'll just back off the comment last time about fan-made formats, like Commander being one of the biggest ones. People just making a format because they enjoy the cards and stuff. Flesh and Blood is yet to do that. I think Commoner. So I think Hank made a comment last week about was Commoner a fan-made format. I think it was to a certain degree, but we're talking about multiplayer formats. I think they're more sort of kitchen table fun-esque, whereas Commoner can still be spiked and all that sort of thing. Wolf Shadowmancer saying the most menacing mushroom man in existence. This is when we're talking about the lightning press. What was it called? The one with the mushroom in it. And the dog.
I think it's just like electrocute or something.
Yeah. They go on to say, love this podcast, glad you're still running. I'm kind of tired of my Guardian build being bad, so I've been engaging with Fab by posting a card of the day to remind myself and others that this game is awesome and there are many reasons to love it. So
that's awesome.
Play.
Nice.
Absolutely. Tam Killer Blam is saying, when you have nothing to talk about, that means you have everything to talk about. That is the case with the Legends podcast. Doesn't matter what we've got. There's always something, isn't there? There's always something going on. We
find a way.
Life finds a way.
Absolutely, it does. The evolution of the podcast. So Torfty Go saying again, I want the PvE to be more like an RPG. The players would have a player sheet of their class and talents, etc. That seems very very sort of optimistic as to what we could potentially get from PvE.
That's a nice way to put it. That's a nice way to put it. Optimistic.
Yeah. So as much as
it sounds cool.
I tweeted about this recently. Yeah, exactly. It does sound cool, but I think at this point in time, Flesh and Blood is focusing on what it does best. If you want to play a board game or an RPG, there are loads out there that will give you this sort of feel of going through a world and leveling up your character and all this. I bought one recently, which was on Kickstarter, called League of Dungeoneers, which is just like an RPG in a box where you don't need a dungeon master. So the dungeons are procedurally generated every time you go to a new quest site. You go around the map and visit settlements and stuff, and you can buy things, and it's leveling up your character and doing quests and all that sort of stuff. There was even a rule in the rule book which I tweeted out, and it said desert hexes normally cost you 2 movement points. But if your party has camels, instead, it costs you 1.5 movement points.
Yeah.
And I was just like, wow, that's amazing. If your party have camels, you can traverse the desert more quickly.
Yeah.
So it's just like, if you want that level of detail in a board game, there are board games out there that will satisfy that. So to ask Flesh and Blood to do that is hard, I think.
I will say
for that level,
you could also just do yourself, because like we did our Flesh and Blood D&D campaign. We might be doing another one at some point. Fingers crossed. So like you could also just kind of like do it yourself.
Yeah.
I would very much like an RPG kind of PvE. In fact, my ideal situation for PvE at this point, which I think is like realistic, this is my most realistic wanted idea, is similar to a game called Dice Throne, which is a game that you can play competitively 1v1. It's a dice-based game. It uses IP stuff because there's like Marvel versions of Dice Throne, but it also has their own characters as well, like a fantasy version. But they also have a PvE version where you go around on this board and you have like random encounters. It's very much like a Slay the Spire-esque type of experience where you have like these little nodes and there's events on the nodes and you can get loot and you can get stuff, but it's all within the game. It's all within the confines of the game. And they could like Flesh and Blood could easily, I don't say easily, but the game system for Flesh and Blood would work perfectly for this, because Dice Throne, like I said, is a 1v1 game, but it also has like this mode, this co-op PvE mode. And then you play against like random encounter monsters and stuff that have like their own things that they do and yada yada. So if you're not familiar with Dice Throne and you want to play something like that, I would recommend something like that, or just go YouTube, go watch it. I think one of my favorite nerdy YouTube channels, Loading Ready Run, I think they played the PvE Dice Throne at one point, so you can go type in Loading Ready Run Dice Throne and I'm sure you could find them playing it. So
yeah,
if you want ideas,
yeah. And just to add on to that as well, there are other people that have done PvE sort of type formats and modules for this game already. So Wraith Adventures is one of them. I think they sponsored one of our episodes a while back. Yeah. So they have done one. And also there was an app that came out recently, which I also played on a stream with Man Sant, Greg from Fresh and Bud's Discord, and Dylan from Gorganian Tome. I did it like a few months ago, but it was like an app that basically creates a boss that you fight against. Bill, I think you remember what it was called, something Overlord Engine. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, because you told me about it in this chat. But yeah, we played that, and that's pretty cool. But again, it's just you fighting a boss with different things happening. So yeah, again, like Kel said, just workshop it yourself. And then again, fan-made formats can sometimes blow up, as we know from Commander and other things. So that's the best thing to do. If you've got ideas, just make it yourself. Going down the list here, so table games TCG again saying I completely agree. PvE could be an amazing casual format for Fab. It would appeal to so many people. Yes, it would, but again, it's hard for them to sort of make it when their main focus is the competitive stuff.
Yeah.
Caleb Muir is saying Channel Thunderstep with Lightning Guardian sounds terrifying.
Yep.
Channel Thunderstep, that gives all of your stuff go again if you pay 1, I believe, action cards.
I mean,
just actions in general.
It turns out that giving things that normally don't get go again is really good. The reason why Channel Thunderstep was like terrible before is because it was specifically for Runeblade and Ranger, and Lexi literally just had go again stapled twice to her weapon, and Briar also all of her crap just had go again anyway, so it's just kind of like really pointless. But yes, if you give like Guardian stuff go again, or Wizard stuff, I'm sure we'll see with Zareth, not Zareth.
Acilio.
Yeah. With not Zareth, I'm sure we'll see that come into play and be really annoying when they zap you a whole bunch. And we'll talk about a bunch of zap variants when we get to the spoilers, but there's a lot of zap variants now.
There is indeed. A lot of PvE comments. Playtime TCG saying, I think Fab is more suited to PvE than most games. It needs to be done right, though. If they could manage a PvE that could also be done at an event similar to a calling, then it would have more chance of being a staple format. Now, that is a good point, because if you were to go to a Worlds event or a calling or something, and there's a PvE event going on, which could be streamed to a fairly high level as well, like a bunch of people sat down beating a boss. That could be very entertainment value for a stream or television, right? So if they could have something like that, it would be quite a marquee event.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
So
if they could do something like that.
As the person here who plays a billion different card games, I will say something like that has happened with Warlord, the old Warlord CCG, which is actually just coming off the successful Kickstarter to be rebooted. So what Warlord used to do is you would go to your local game store, or you'd go to events, and there would be like a really powerful boss. It wasn't like a PvE campaign, but what you would do is you'd fight a super powerful boss, like really, really powerful, overpowered kind of thing. And if you beat them, you got them. Like you beat the boss, then you would get the card of the boss. And then you could like collect them. And after you've beaten all of the like base level bosses or whatever, you could challenge like the god boss or whatever. It's super, super cool. There's a lot of things that card games can do with it if they just get creative and actually want to do it. And Warlord is one of the examples of where it has happened, and it's been very, very cool. The boss cards are like busted. They're basically like the equivalent of a hero in Flesh and Blood. And so, but they're like a really busted hero. Like it'd be a hero with like, 5 intellect and then like more health and then like a crazy power, something like that. Maybe it's like, they'll have 3 classes and some crazy ability like +2 dominate and go again. That
reminds me actually.
Yeah.
That reminds me actually as well of the, because we haven't really touched on it yet, but the Command and Conquer that people got for doing the deathmatch with Kasai.
Yeah.
Right. Just imagine if there was a PvE thing which was played in local game stores, which had a reward similar to this, where you have to beat the boss with your team of 4 people, and then you all got the promo card, which could be anything. In this case, it was CNC. If you top the tables with Kasai, if you beat the boss at your local game store, and the boss is going to be insanely hard to defeat, then you get whatever the prize is. It's a Art of War. Art of War with new art.
So
I think that could be a fantastic incentive for encouraging more in-store play, but at a casual level, because the Kasai thing was more of a deathmatch, heavy hitters-esque mini game. But you could add more mini games into the armories and all these other things that happen to make people go and get these these one-off cards.
So I wanted to share this when we started talking about the spoilers, but I'll share it now. Because I kind of want to title the episode this, and I likely will, but this kind of goes into it. I don't know how these are awarded, but I tweeted about these recently, and these are special promo cards that are alternate art and in Japanese. And so my tweet, and probably the title of this episode is Flesh and Blood is an anime TCG now. because here we have a alt art Japanese Dorinthia, which looks gorgeous. And then we also have an alternate art Japanese new, also incredibly gorgeous. These are official promo cards. These are not like fan made things. These are actual things. I have no idea how you get them yet.
Cards.
Yeah. Well, they are giant cards, but they're also, I think they also might be actual promos, like physical small promos as well.
I reckon so.
And they did tease that they're going to be spoiling another one, another hero. So also likely Japanese and also likely alternate art, because they teased about it in their social media, like, oh, who's going to be the next hero or whatever. So I have these up.
Please be Azalea.
Here for this. Yeah, we have Dorinthia. We have new. I mean, I want. Okay, so it's probably a little too close to it, but I think Uzuri would make a lot of sense. One, because I love Uzuri, but two, because Japanese person literally just won the Pro Tour. So with Uzuri. So that would make a lot of sense. So anyway, looping this back to the discussion, because I can, this makes more sense to talk about it now than just randomly, hey, these are a thing. This is the kind of stuff you could give as like promos for that PvE stuff, like these amazing, beautiful, like alternate art cards that are desirable, that people actually want, and that like casual minded, or maybe like not super competitive minded people would also very much enjoy, right? Like if you're just a fan of Dorinthia, you probably want this Dorinthia, regardless of if you play at the Pro Tour level. Same with new. If you played new, you probably want this new. And I think that's the perfect kind of stuff to do for that.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you imagine like, this is the alt art Azalea that you get if you go down and try and beat the spider assassin boss. You get the Azalea thing. That's something that I want to be.
There's
like,
so much cool.
You're bringing.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. You're coming. You're pro player. You're bringing your Zen deck and my Azalea deck, and we're going to try and take this thing down so I can get the thing. It just creates those moments, I think, which could be.
They could do so much with it. It's just like a thing of either they don't want to or they don't have the resources for, because they could do so much cool stuff. Because like you just said, like you beat the spider boss. You could do like a gauntlet. Like you can fight through the spider agents to get through like the big boss. You have like a gauntlet of like maybe 3 little mini bosses, and then you fight like Uzuri with Arachne and Riptide at the same time or something. Like you could do so much cool stuff with that. And the way I would personally like to see it, or like to have it designed, is that it will like directly counter meta decks, like competitive decks, and so you have to be really creative with your build and run like weird stuff that typically wouldn't work, like Poison the Well or something, which is a card that's like, oh, whenever your opponent gains life, they lose life. Maybe they have this mechanic where they just gain a burst of life or something that you wouldn't think about. That's what I want. Yeah. But I may have thought about this for a little bit.
I think it's a great idea. Obviously, with the Kasai thing, also proved the point that if you have like a mini game and you get, as a result of that, you get a special card. Only 56 cards, I think.
Yeah,
those CNCs. That's
very
it.
Limited.
I've seen that go for like $1,000 to $4,000. Like people trying to sell it for around that price. Yeah.
That's what I mean. But then you also have the issue if are people going to try and spike PvE events to get a special thing, which is why you want the card or the promo to be an aesthetic upgrade rather than an actual.
Yeah. So
is that what you're getting at?
That's literally what I was getting at. That's why I was saying like these alternate art heroes are the perfect thing, because they're just aesthetic, but they're really cool and desirable. Like I said, if you play Dorinthia, you really want this Dorinthia, but it's not going to make your Dorinthia deck like competitively better. I didn't want to say it's not going to make your Dorinthia deck better, because I mean, come on, it is going to make it like objectively aesthetically better, because the art is amazing. But that's the kind of stuff you want. And you want to get people excited to do these things and be like, oh, I want to get it, and then maybe they're even valuable, so maybe people do spike it a little bit so they can like trade it or sell it or whatever. But at the end of the day, like it needs to be like a thing that's like not mandatory. It needs to be like for fun and that people like care about. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
That's that.
Yeah. So yeah, that was just off of Playtime TCG's comment. So that will be the title of the video. Fantastic. Thanks for sharing. Nice one. And yeah, not too many more comments on this one. So Caleb again says Halls of Torment is a Vampire Survivors type game.
Yep.
I'm not sure if you've heard of that, guys.
Yeah, it's like Diablo. It has like this Diablo 1 looking kind of thing. Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, because I was asking about Vampire Survivors games last week, wasn't I? Because I played a bit of it. So
yeah,
I'll check that one out as well.
I don't like it as much as the other one that I recommended, but it's still pretty good. It's less active. It's more passive, like Vampire Survivors, where you just kind of like walk around and just auto attack. Whereas the other one, you kind of have a little bit more agency.
Yeah. I'll have to check that out then, because that's just a fun game you play on the toilet. Anyway, so Link Masters Able, which I believe is Ian Findale's Spirit, who's commentating the League That Means Nothing. Has been doing a fantastic job on that, by the way. He's also done some solo casting recently when his Irish compatriots could not make it for whatever reason. He's just soldiered on and done solo casting, so good job. He's saying, as a die-hard Runeblade stan, I'm both Lightning and Earth. So responding to our comments about whether we're Team Lightning or Team Earth, he's going to play both. So, yeah, good stuff. Love to see it. Watafak is back. Watafak Matafak is back. I'm really hyped for this set. I'm on and off with Fab, but Verdance seems super fun as a slow life gain control. Well, you know, the TCGs in general are like waves. Sometimes you can hop on, sometimes you can hop off, and some sets don't interest us and some sets do. But luckily, Living Legends podcast is here through it all. So thanks for joining us. Watafak Matafak. Couple more PvE things. People saying more about PvE. People definitely do want to see that. Hammerman215 is saying, as of me watching this, the weapons came out. I'm neither impressed or upset. What does everyone else think about them? So we're going to address those weapons in a bit because they did come out.
Yeah.
So something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're not even getting majestic weapons anymore, are we? We're just getting standard.
Well, we don't know yet. We don't know. We don't have the full set reveal yet, but we got some tokens to talk about at least.
Yeah. I'm just reading, going down here again. Right Time Gaming is saying Guardian Master set, 130 new boots and 10 other cards. Because obviously went on the Guardian boots. 130 sets of boots. Let's go.
Yeah, you got
a whole closet.
Yeah,
red cowboy boots, blue cowboy boots, pink cowboy boots.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But yeah, keep your thoughts, comments, and questions coming in to Living Legends podcast. That's on the video format. You can just leave a comment, and obviously we'll try and read it out as quickly as we can. But I just speed run this week because there was a lot of PvE related stuff, so people do want to see that. But but again, you know, try and workshop your own ideas, and maybe you can get something off the ground. You know, because LSS clearly are taking their sweet time with it, so we'll see what happens with it. But main topic, I'll shut up now.
All right, main topic. Let's go over the Dash Armory deck first because there are less cards to talk about, and also it'll be easier just to kind of do that one first. So the Dash Armory deck has been announced. We don't have the full deck list quite yet, but we do know that it is Dash IO, which is the new Dash from Bright Lights from the 2023 set. We do have 4 cards to kind of go over here, 2 pieces of equipment and 2 main deck cards. And, well, I'll go over them all real quick here. So we have first up, Heavy Industry Surveillance. This is a Mechanologist equipment headpiece with a defensive 1 and it has temper. And it says, when this defends, you may banish the top card of your deck. If it's a mech card, this gets +1 until the end of turn, which is pretty interesting. So it's trying to mimic sort of a Battle-Worn 2 kind of situation here. What do you guys think of the Heavy Industry Surveillance?
So something that I find extremely interesting is technically if your opponent is, I think the main the main example of this will always be Pistol Dash. If your opponent is consistently breaking the combat chain and you get to block with this and you hit with it every time, it is technically a block 2 for the entire turn, because it continuously gets the +1.
Well, okay, so
which is
yes,
quite funny.
It does. Okay, so I'll read out what Temper says for everyone who doesn't remember. So Temper says, when the combat chain closes, if this defended, put a -1 defense counter on it. Then if it has a defense of 0, destroy it. So yes, it would get a +1 and then get a -1, and then it would get +1 and then -1 and then +1 and then -1 every single time that happens, assuming you always hit a mech card off the top.
Yeah,
and then it would have like a billion -1 counters on it.
Yeah, the end of turn it'll have like -6 defense or something. Yeah. But like technically.
Yep. So yeah,
it's quite funny.
So it actually is pretty good for like exactly the situation Bill mentioned. Yeah. Also, you would turbo mill yourself, which is also kind of funny. Yes. Once again, Shadow Mech when I suppose.
Yeah. I've seen a few sort of mechanologist lovers also say, oh, this could be quite good in Data Dole, because if you block, you banish a card off the top. If it's an item, it goes into play.
It's true.
So
that's value.
Yeah. So yeah. If you're able to block and then get value on the defense like Zen does, I reckon Data Dole could be a contender in Blitz against Zen if she can block and banish an item, and there you go, you're off to the races. So.
I mean, Zen would have to break the combat chain, and he could just kind of like not do that. But yeah.
Yep. But yeah, so
I mean, like, it's good to point out.
Yeah, exactly. So a couple of Data Dole stands will like it. I'm not sure what the headpiece is that you run in mech in general. Is it
good legendary ones, basically?
Just generic legendaries like Providence and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also
various crowns.
I'm trying to think of there's a Majestic one from Crew that has Arcane Barrier that you just sort of used sometimes because it had Arcane Barrier.
It's like there's the goggles one, MK something. No, is that the gun? There's the weird Crew ones. Yeah, Bill's right. With really cool art.
Model.
Yes,
that's the one. Visitronic Model I.
Yeah.
Or Model 1, I suppose.
I like Model.
Also
go ahead.
There's that Hyper one as well from Bright Lights, the Hyper helmet one.
Yeah, Hyper X3 or something.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. That one.
I love this art. It looks like it's straight out of like a 1995 Shadowrun manual. Like, it's very like old school cyberpunk kind of thing, which is still kind of funny to me how this vibe interacts with the rest of Flesh and Blood. Bill's going to step aside for a second, but we're going to talk about the next card, which is another Heavy Industry card. This is Heavy Industry Gear Shift. This one has Battle Worn. Blocks for 1, and has action, destroy this, banish the top 2 cards of your deck, gain 1 action point for each Mechanologist card banished this way. So this is interesting. This one does have Battle Worn, which is cool. So you block with it once, and then you use it later to destroy it. I do also think it's pretty funny in Data Doll, because you banish 2 cards, and you could just get 2. You get 2 action points and 2 items, which is kind of cool. And these are legs, by the way. Did I say they were gloves? These are legs.
Yeah, but again, pretty cool, because action points are better than go again, really, because you can just go again with anything that like CNC. You can then just follow up with something else because you got an action point, for instance. They're a lot more useful than go again. But yeah, it's pretty cool in Data Dole again, because if you can just banish the top 2, most of the time you're not going to have non-mech cards in your deck. Most of the time it's just all mech cards. I don't think there's any generics or anything in there most of the time. So just read, banish 2, gain 2 action points most of the time.
Yeah, you essentially just gain 1 action point, because this itself does not have go again. It's just an action. So you hit 2, and then you basically just net 1 action point, right? So I don't know.
Yeah,
it's it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Yep.
You get one bonus action point from this, and I actually do think this is quite good. I'm not sure if you would run anything else over than this if you're running like a straight mech deck. It just seems quite strong. It blocks for one. It's like just better than Snapdragons, right? It just blocks for one and gives you action point.
Yeah, and the other thing you would compare this to is Achilles Accelerator, which is the one that says at instant speed, destroy it, gain one action point only if you've boosted this turn.
Yeah.
So it's quite similar to that to a certain degree, but just in a different way. And this obviously blocks for one as well. So
I guess Achilles had AB.
AB.
So yeah, maybe it's a situation where you run both and you just kind of swap it in depending on what you're doing or who you're playing against.
That's what I love about these armory decks, right? Is that it was all up in the air when KO came out because of the sash and the FOBO and all this. But as these other heroes have been, it was interesting timing at the time because KO was just ripping things up in the meta. He was the deck, right? So just adding a Savage Sash to his arsenal was just insanity at the time. But it's nice to see like Bolton, Azalea, Dash get all of these new armor pieces that will allow them to play in sort of different ways or just have a larger sort of play style or equipment that you can use instead of the classics. So I like to see these little bits get expanded on, which is good.
Yeah, and we have two more cards. These are main deck cards. We have Fast and Furious. This one is a pretty interesting one. We talked about last week just kind of like how they keep doing different takes on Scar for a Scar, and this is kind of like a different take on Scar for a Scar. So this is a 0-drop Mechanologist attack action card. It's a red pitch card. It blocks for 3, attacks for 3. It has boost. If you've cranked this turn, this gets +1. So if you've cranked, this is a 0 for 4 with essentially go again because of your boost. And then it says, when this is banished from boosting, put a steam counter on an item you control with crank. So you kind of have to jump through some hoops to make it into your Scar for a Scar, but also it synergizes with getting itself banished from boosting, which is pretty cool. I do like that kind of effect, and this seems like a pretty good card. If you're boosting and cranking, you got to be doing both. Well, you don't technically have to be doing both, because the cranking just gives the +1, but. Yeah, it seems pretty good. The art's awesome. Art by Sam Yang.
Oh, yeah.
Super dynamic.
Absolutely.
Dash doing this weird upside down flip thing. Looks really cool. It also, blocks for 3 too. So, yeah, seems pretty good. What do you guys think of this one?
I think it's pretty strong, honestly.
Yeah.
I do think that these are all going to be really good for Dash.io, specifically because you just always have perfect information about what's on top of your deck. So you can utilize that knowledge to use your if it's the boots or the new hat correctly. I think that's going to be really good. Just have to pull up. Just to confirm something, where is it here? Armory Deck Dash.
Yeah, I've already seen some comments. I've already seen some comments of people like, "Oh, is this Dash deck just going to be for Max?"
Yeah, because this is going to show my my greenery a bit. Does Dash.io use that many crank items? I guess I suppose she would, but. I mean, this does definitely feel like a Max card.
Well, it synergizes with Dash in that Dash.io lets you play items from the top of her deck, items. Right?
Yeah, duh.
So, you get to play the items from the top of your deck, and assuming that they are crank items, that's how they kind of, synergize with this kind of stuff. And then, since you can see the top card of your deck, so you can see, Fast and the Furious, you can tell, oh, do I want to boost this card to then put a steam counter on the crank item I have or whatever.
Yeah.
So, it does work well with Dash.
Yeah, so like you're saying, it's basically just a Scar for a Scar that has upside for specifically Dash. It also blocks 3, which is kind of interesting for an overtly aggressive card. Yeah. I think that this card is going to do insane numbers in Max for sure. Because yeah, like you obviously have a huge. There's a lot more incentive, I suppose, to play like all of the crank items that you possibly can with Max.
Yeah.
But
all
this
the
card just feels
hyperdrivers.
totally solid. Yeah.
Yeah, all
hyperdrivers.
hyperdrivers get crank as well because of Max. But
Yeah.
looking at Dash.io lists from the Czech National Championship, crank items that appear in that list are things like Backup Protocol Red, which is a crank item, Boom Grenade, which is a crank item.
Boom Grenade's a big one.
Boom Grenade.
Yeah. And that is about it. That's from the Czech National Championship first place.
Well, that segues us to the other new card, which is a crank card that is found in this deck. This is Cerebellum Processor. This is a mech item, 0 cost, blue pitch, 0 block. It has crank. It enters the arena with 2 steam counters. At the start of your turn, destroy this unless you remove a steam counter from it, and it has a once per turn action to draw a card. I think this card's really interesting, and this is kind of the card where if you have a bunch of extra action points from various means, if you're doing your, I forget what it's called, but it's like, whenever you boost, you get an action point or whatever.
High octane.
High octane, yeah. Then you can pump those into this and draw cards, which is pretty good. It's just a once per turn action, but having multiple of these, it would allow you to draw multiple cards, and it does have crank. So, yeah, there it is. It's another one of the pieces of art where I see this and I'm like, yep, that sure is the same world with KO. One-armed brute man in a loincloth and fighting. His weapons are literally like giant spider claws.
Spider mandibles.
Yeah. Mandibles. So, yeah, it looks like the robot from like iRobot with like getting jacked into the Matrix.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it reminds me of.
Sonny from iRobot. Yeah, what a film that was.
I did not murder him.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that.
Oh my god.
Seems like a cool card.
Detective Spooner.
Yeah.
Detective Spooner.
Oh god.
Absolutely right.
But drawing cards seems good. So
Yep.
let's let you draw some cards. Yeah. Turn those action points into cards. Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that's go ahead.
I was gonna say, yeah, we're still yet to see the full list for Dash.io, but
Exactly.
that's the ones we've seen so far.
Yep. Just those 4. I imagine it'll follow very similar trajectory as all of them. You'll probably get like 1 or 2 majestic reprints. Likely not super valuable ones, but possibly really relevant ones. Could get like a high octane here, or the Dash spec one, the heart. I can't remember what it's called. The
Genius.
No, the other one, the majestic one that gives you resources. That's the
Teclocore.
Yeah,
That's the one.
Yeah.
So could have Teclocore, could have high octane. I doubt we'll see like a harpoon or anything, but I don't know, maybe we'll see. And so yeah, that's the Dash deck. As more things roll out, we will talk about it.
Yeah.
And then we will move on to Rosetta, of which we have many a spoiler to talk about. Now, I went through all the Dash ones. Do you guys have this pulled up? Would you like to alternate here on the Rosetta ones? I just did a bunch of Dash ones, so if anyone wants to kick off this one, we can. And I do believe the first one is one of these split cards.
Let's see.
Well, I've got a weapon in front of me, which is the Earth Runeblade weapon. So only Florian can use this at the moment, and this is called Rotwood Reaper. Don't know how much impact these cards are going to have because we haven't seen the full set yet, but we'll try and evaluate them as we from what we can see. But this is a Earthblade Runeblade weapon, 2-handed sword, attacks for 2, and to attack with it once per turn, you pay 2 resources to attack for 2. But if you've played or created an aura this turn, this gets +2. So this is basically a bone basher. I think it's a bone basher, the 2-for-4 brute weapon. If you fulfill the fulfillment of creating an aura. But this probably will be turned on most of the time because there's a lot of Runeblade cards that will create rune chants at the start of your turn, or if you've played or created an aura this turn, it's quite easy to do, especially with all the rune chant stuff and the non-attack actions that are all auras in this set. The sigils as well are auras, I think, as well. So I think, yeah, just a 2 for 4.
So
okay weapon.
I think this card is, if we're going to talk about it like, you know, competitively, I think this card is a limited card. This is a draft only card because it draws direct comparison. When I first saw this, I immediately thought of the first Runeblade weapon, Nebula Blade, which is also a 2 for 4, but Nebula Blade also creates a rune chant token as well. So Nebula Blade, if you don't know, I don't have it on screen, but I'll just read it out here. It is a Runeblade weapon, two-handed sword, so any Runeblade can use this, not just Florian. It has once per turn action, so for 2 to attack. This one only has a base attack of 1, and if it hits, you create a rune chant token. However, if you've played a non-attack action card this turn, it gets +3. So it also attacks for 4. You just have to play any non-attack, and on hit, it creates a rune chant token. And I think Nebula Blade is just better, even for Florian. It's just better because it will create a rune chant token, and then Florian will like synergizes with creating tokens himself too, right? So yeah, it's like Florian's ability. Let me read off his ability. Yeah, if you would create 1 or more aura tokens, instead create that many +1. So on Nebula Blade, it would create 2 rune chants. So
Better than it.
I would just use Nebula Blade if you're playing competitively. If you're playing limited, obviously you're going to be running this thing. Yeah, the only differences is like Rotwood Reaper has a base attack of 2, and it gets the +2 off of just creating auras. So if you can somehow create an aura without playing a non-attack, sure, you get that bonus. And at the base level, if you got nothing going on, it attacks for 1 point more for 2. But at the end of the day, I think you want to be coming in for 4 and making 2 rune chants is probably what you want to be doing.
Yeah. The one thing I can think of from cards that already exist is Runeblood Incantation, which sees a lot of play in Vin set because you get a rune chant at the start of your turn, which then will fulfill Rotwood's clause without having to play any non-attacks or anything that Viserai has to do or the other Rune Blades have to do to turn Nebula Blade on. So yeah, there'll be things, but again, yes, I think it's very much a limited thing, but we could be completely and utterly wrong here. We never know, but that's the assessment as is currently. Yeah,
I think the payoff is just attacking for 4, which is not great, to be honest. So
probably,
yeah.
We will see.
All right, Bill, do you want to read the next one?
So where exactly are you looking? Because right now, if I just go on Fabrary, it's just all of them in a pile.
Yeah,
I guess like by set code.
Yeah, we just have to. I just go through them all and go to the ones we haven't seen yet. So the top right one, I don't think we've talked about yet.
Yeah, Arcane Seeds and Life.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that one. This one's relatively straightforward. I think all of the split cards are actually relatively straightforward, kind of as a rule. But this is an Earth Runeblade action, or it's a Runeblade action and an Earth instant. So this is an Earth Runeblade card. It costs 0 and comes in red. It's meld. So you can play either one. The action part is create a rune chant token and then create a rune chant token with go again. And the life portion is gain 1 life. I think this card is actually kind of very strong.
It's really good. Yeah.
Like with Mordred Tide, this makes 4 rune chants. This is it's a 2-card combo
to make Florian. It creates 4 rune chants.
Yeah, with Florian and Mordred Tide, it's 6.
Yeah.
God.
So like, it stacks. Yeah, so I think that the fact that it's create 2 rune chants, but it's 2 specific instances of 1 rune chant.
Yep.
This card's really strong, especially as a 0 with go again. Like this is
and gains
almost
life.
it's almost already at the level of Read the Runes, which does not have go again.
It's so much. It's better in Florian too.
Yeah.
Like it's so. This card's cracked. I'm sorry.
No, I think cracked. This card. I think this card is better than Read the Runes.
It's wild.
even though it technically makes, like, just in a vacuum on its own, it makes one less rune chant.
Yeah.
For the red.
On turn one, it makes 2. Yeah. Turn 1, it makes 2.
Yeah.
Which, yeah.
But again, even that, like, if you're playing with Mordred Tide, this could be an early game. Like, Mordred Tide into this is build your own Revel in Runeblood.
Dude, you could literally Mordred Tide this and then read the runes. Like, you could literally do all of them in the same turn, because this stupid thing has go again for some reason.
And it costs, it has go again, costs 0. Yeah, kind of nuts. I think this card's crazy.
Turn 1.
And then, just also incidentally gains a life.
Yeah, you just randomly gain a life too.
Blocks for 3. Wow.
So
And blocks for 3.
So what you could do, like, it's nice that they're so, like, side by side here on February. So you have this, and you also have the other Runeblade Earth card, Thistlebloom Life, which says create X rune chant tokens, where X is the total life you've gained this turn. So you could also do your Arcane Seeds life to create rune chant, gain 1 life, and then Thistlebloom to gain a life, and then make, X more rune chant tokens. So, like, yeah, it's...
And again, still for free.
For 0.
+1 if you got Florian active, +1 if you got Mordred active.
Yep. So like, I mentioned Nebula Blade very specifically, first of all, because it compared really well to Rotwood Reaper, but also, like, if you do, like, a Mordred Tide Nebula Blade turn and you have Florian out, like, there's just so many freaking rune chants. Like, if you have Florian active, so like we said, that's 6 rune chants off of Arcane Seeds, and then you attack with your Nebula Blade, which is coming in for 4 plus 6 rune chants, so that's 10 damage with just 1 card. And it's the 2 cards, it's Nebula Blade or Mordred Tide. And then if Nebula Blade hits, it will create 3 more rune chants. It'll create one extra one from Florian and 1 extra one from Mordred Tide.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Wait a minute. How does hold on? I just had an idea. I don't think this works, but let me read Florian. So it says, if you would create 1 or more aura tokens, instead create that many +1. What does Mordred Tide read? Would you create an extra rune chant token off of Florian's ability? Hold on.
I don't believe so, because it's instead. So, like, I think they're both instead, right?
Yeah, let me read Mordred Tide.
If you would create 1 or more, instead create that many +1. So yeah, it would go, you're creating 1, then Florian's ability or whatever, because they're replacement abilities.
I think you're right.
It would then be like, you have 1, it's like, okay, I'm going to try to make 2, and then Mordred Tide sees it, or, again, Florian sees it, and it's like, okay, well, I was going to make 2, I'm going to make 3 instead. It just sort of adds 1 each time.
Yeah.
It doesn't see it as an additional instance of making a rune chant.
We didn't just go infinite. We just didn't go infinite.
Yeah, it's like, I'll play Read the Runes, I'll make 30 rune chants.
Yeah.
Instead. Yeah, interesting. Okay. Interesting.
Nice.
So then, okay, now I have to ask the question: does Mordred Tide stack with Florian? Yeah. And because they're both replacements.
Yeah, they would both look in, but you just, at least as far as I'm aware, you would just choose which one happens first. Like in instances of that much damage +1, you still get each +1 sort of in order as the replacement effects happen. So yeah, like Mordred Tide, again, you would like make 1 rune chant, and it's like, okay, well, Mordred Tide is active, and it sees that, so it tries to make 1 +1. And then Florian also sees that happen, but it sees it after the Mordred Tide has applied. So it goes, okay, now I have 2 rune chants, I'm trying to make 2, I'm going to make that many +1.
I see. 3. Okay, yeah. So it basically, this is the way I'm thinking about it. It'll pump the rune chants by 1, and then pump that instant of creating the rune chants also by 1. Is kind of what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like if you you make 1, you have 2 of those effects in play. You would then just add 2 rune chants total. To whatever you're making.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Which again makes Arcane Seeds ridiculous. This could be make 6 rune chants.
It's so
pretty
good.
convincingly in Florian.
The big seller for this for me is it has go again. I read the first line. I'm like, okay, it's read the runes. Wait, why does it have go again?
It like shouldn't probably.
And it's just a rare. It's just a rare. It's not a majestic. It likely doesn't have the full suite. I imagine it's probably just this. But the fact that it's a rare means like in limited, because I'm probably gonna be playing with these cards mostly in limited. This seems like a real good card to pick up for Florian. If you're like, I'm building the Florian deck, 4 Rune Chant Go Again seems kind of nuts.
100%.
Well, 4 Rune Chant Go Again, gain a life. There, can't forget you also just randomly gain a life too.
Just for free.
Just do it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that seems pretty good. The next one, as Bill said, we just kind of have to scroll down. And I think, oh man, what is the next one? Is it the equipment?
I think so, yeah.
All right.
The one we haven't covered yet.
Beautiful art on this one. This is Helm of Lignum Vitae. I actually have not read these yet. So this one is a Earth equipment headpiece. It blocks 1 as Blade Break. If there are 4 or more Earth cards in your banish zone, it gets +2. Okay, sure. Limited card. This is what this is. This is a limited card. It's common. Beautiful art.
+1, sorry.
Yeah.
+1.
Oh yeah. I meant it gets +1.
So
We'll block for 2. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a basically a 2-block Blade Break. So limited card. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty good limited. Yeah. Sealed. Happy to see this.
Yeah. And that's that one. Let's move on to the next one.
Yeah. Shall I go for it? Well grounded.
Yeah, go for it. Yep.
Yeah, I'm pretty well grounded, so there we go. So this is just Earth equipment, legs. Doesn't block for anything, but at instant speed, you can destroy it to prevent the next 2 damage that will be dealt to you this turn. Activate this only if there are 4 or more Earth cards in your banished zone. So again, just caring about those decompositions happening, moving things from your graveyard to your banished zone in order to get the payoff. But yeah, 2 damage being prevented. This can prevent arcane damage as well as physical damage, which is clearly abhorrent in this set. Abhorrent, probably not the right word to use. I think that's more like a
rampant.
Yeah, abhorrent is like a disgusting thing.
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, you know.
Abhorrent overlord from Magic. That's like a big demon thing that spawns like zombies or something. So yeah, it's definitely not abhorrent. Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Yeah, so I think it's pretty good in your sealed limited pools for sure. That's about it.
Yeah, and I think this is a theme we're going to start seeing as we start going over a lot of these common and rare cards, is that they started to bake in a lot of ways to prevent arcane damage or just damage in general. And it's something that we actually talked about like many episodes ago when we first were speculating on like the all arcane set. We're like, how are they going to help fix this like arcane damage problem? And it's kind of what we thought to some degree. We'll get to the cards a little bit later, but yeah, there's a handful of them are kind of what I think Bill might have suggested, the mechanic similar to this. So we'll talk about that when we get there.
I should also mention as well that a lot of these cards that are reading out will be they've obviously chosen to spoil them in this way because it gives us a lot of insight as to what your cards will look like and the main sort of mechanics in the set as we mentioned earlier. They're not spoiling the bombs, a couple of bombs here and there, but not spoiling all the big stuff. But this next one's pretty good, which reminds me of a certain helmet that was banned.
So we have an Earth instant. This is Seeds of Tomorrow. Seeds, interesting. So this is, as I said, an Earth instant. It's a blue, costs 0. And then as an additional cost to play this, you put a card from your arsenal on the bottom of your deck. Seeds. Then this just reads, prevent the next 5 damage that would be dealt to you this turn.
It's pretty good.
So
interesting.
Something extremely important to note about this, which I overlooked the first time I read it, it is just the next 5. It's not the next time something would deal damage to you, prevent however much damage.
Yeah.
This will carry over multiple sources of damage.
I did not know that.
Yes. So like if somebody attacks you with a Rosetta Thorn and you use Seeds of Tomorrow, it prevents all 4, and then you have an additional 1 prevention.
Yep.
Like this is very powerful prevention effect.
So how would it read normally if it was not?
The
it would
next
be something
time
like
you would be
Oasis
dealt.
Respite.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, or yeah, the next time you would be dealt damage, prevent X of that damage.
Yeah.
And
Oh, the
Oasis
next
Respite is
time.
like, yeah, the next time a source of your choice would deal damage to you, I think, is maybe how it's worded. But yeah, this just looks at and says you have 5 damage prevention this turn. So this is a lot. This is like, honestly, it is a good thing that it has the arsenal requirement. But the fact that this still costs 0, this is kind of just a build your.
Oh no, they froze.
This is so much prevention, and the fact that it's on everything. It's actually more flexible than Husk, because this works against Kano. Like this is actually a card that I think Kanos kind of hate to see.
Oh yeah.
Because it's so good. Yeah, I think this card's crazy.
Yeah. We don't see this kind of effect a lot in Flesh and Blood, but I can say in some of the other games I play, we do see effects like this, and they are always very good. So in Grand Archive, there's an effect like this. It's very similar. It's like prevent the next 4 non-combat damage you take. And it's similar, and it's just really annoying. It's just all really good. The fact that this is an instant is also very good. 2 things I want to note that are important. 1, it's a blue card. It's great. So if you, for whatever reason, can't use it, you can just pitch it. So it's just always great. And then 2, do not arsenal this card. It's a trap.
Yep.
If you arsenal this card, say goodbye to your arsenal, because I don't think you can play it. If it's in your arsenal, you're screwed. Because it's as an additional cost to play this card, you have to put a card from your arsenal on the bottom of your deck. So you literally can't play this if you have it in your arsenal. So your arsenal is just gone forever. Well, it's not gone. It's just full of the seeds. They're just growing, germinating. So yeah. Don't arsenal this card. It's like arsenaling a crack bauble. Don't do it. So yeah.
Pretty cool.
All right. Next card. Oh, I think I have another common one. So this one is a Rootbound Carapace. It's got like this dryad kind of lady in the artwork. This is an Earth Defense reaction. It's a full cycle, so red, yellow, blue. The red version says it blocks for 3, and it says decompose. You can banish 2 Earth cards and an action card from your graveyard. If you do this, gets +1. So it's a 0 for 4 if you do the decompose, which you definitely want to do because you're playing Earth, and they care about having that 4 threshold or 8 threshold, depending if you're playing young or adult heroes. And then it's the same effect for the yellow and the blue. It's just the defense number goes down by 1, the base defense. So it goes down to a 2, and then it goes down to a 1. So I think this card's actually, like, if you look at it just normally, you're like, oh, it's underwhelming, right? You have to jump through some hoops to get your 0 for 4. Why would you do that when you can just get your sink below? But I think this is actually really good in the Earth decks, like specifically the ones from Rosetta, because you probably need a critical mass of cards that banish stuff from your graveyard. And so this might end up being like just a good role playing type card in those decks where you just need them. So yeah, that's what my thoughts are. Though also in limited, you have to be careful not to, if you're running against the wizards, this might not be as potent. And also, I think they have frozen again, so I'm just going to keep talking about this card while they're frozen. I think the art's really good. And this is definitely feeling kind of like a Aria 2 in regards to a lot of the art. Very pretty. And yeah, this is just a rare. You'll probably pick up a couple copies in limited and be pretty good. And then in constructed, big maybe. Big maybe on this one. It depends on if there's a critical mass of other more powerful effects that also let you banish stuff. Is my thoughts for this in constructed. So that's all my thoughts about Rootbound Carapace. I'm just gonna wait till the other guys come back. I think we have this one up next, so we're just gonna kind of like Just chill. Just gonna chill.
Hello.
Oh, are they back?
Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
Oh, they're back. Okay, hello, guys. Welcome back. I just kind of like vamped for a couple minutes by myself while I was waiting for you guys to come back. But
Hell yeah.
we can move on to the next card. Let's move on to the next one.
Cool. We all back on your side though, yeah, because you're the one.
Yeah.
The OBS.
Well, see, yeah, I'm the one recording on OBS, so for me, nothing. All that happened was you guys froze, and so OBS kept going without a hitch. So I just kind of kept talking to myself. So
Sweet.
yeah.
Okay. What do you have as the next card?
Blossoming Decay, I think.
Or decompose.
Blossoming Decay. All right. Yeah.
Where's Oh yeah. Yep. Blossoming Decay.
Yep. So yeah, Blossoming Decay, common that comes in all 3 colors. It's an Earth action, Earth attack action that costs 2 attacks for 5, 4, and 3, and blocks for 2. And then yeah, Decompose. When this attacks, you can banish 2 Earth cards and an action card from your graveyard. If you do, you gain 1 life. Fine limited card.
Yeah.
This obviously gets you like halfway to activating your ability if you're Florian or Verdance. But gaining 1 life like later on is maybe not the upside that you're necessarily looking for. Maybe if you're Verdance, I don't know. Maybe Verdance is kooky like that.
I mean, like she deals arcane damage whenever she gains life. So that this is for Verdance. Once she's like activated, this is essentially like a 2 for 6, which isn't like the worst, I guess. Like it's a 2 for 5 physical, then 1 ping, 1 arcane ping. So
if you're playing in those limited sealed formats as well, the split damage towards the end, or split damage in general, just sort of forces more cards or more equipments away if you want to prevent damage.
Yeah.
So yeah, pretty cool. But again, probably just a lot of these cards that they're spoiling are those sort of mechanics and role players and limited and all that sort of stuff, just giving us theme and flavor to what's going on. And this was Tommy's spoiler card, so I watched this today. So yeah, go and check that out when you can. The next one again is another attack, which is a decomposer. This is called Cadaverous Tilling. So this attacks for 6, 5, or 4, depending on the pitch, and this costs 3 and blocks for 2. And it says decompose. When this attacks, you may banish 2 Earth cards and an action card from your graveyard. If you do, it gets +2. So it's just a bigger attack.
Now we're talking. This is the card that I want in limited. This is a 3 for 8, which is very strong. It's a 3 for 8 that does your like mechanic that you want to do. I think this card is very, very good and limited. In fact, I think the yellow one, which is a 3 for 7, still very, very good. 3 for 7 yellow, very strong. I think the yellow and the red are both like incredibly good. So
yeah,
these are like early draft picks if you're playing any of the Earth ones. Like if you're playing Florian, if you want to play Verdance, I think these are crazy. Yeah.
Pretty good stuff.
3
more attacks as well.
3 for 7 is good. 3 for 8 is 1 better, which is what this is, and it also does your thing. That does your thing. And even if the red one as well it's your standard 1 card for 6. But if you can't do the thing, it's still 1 card for 6 damage. So it's still pretty good. So if you can't decompose for whatever reason, it's still 6 damage, which is still pretty hefty. I imagine the play patterns with this in limited is going to be like you block a lot early, so you can fill up your graveyard, so you can do a lot of your decompose, so you can turn on your hero ability. I feel like that's really going to be how it's going to be working pretty early on. And you probably want to draft like a critical mass of Earth cards, so it's going to be easier to do the three banish, right?
Or you could discard cards from your hand, which is what this next card wants to do. You can fill your graveyard up by discarding cards from hand with Fruits of the Forest. I might as well read this one out because I've just segued into it.
Sure, yeah.
So again, just a bunch of Earth actions that Earth action attacks again. So they come in all pitch values. They cost 3. They block for 2, and they attack for 7, 6, or 5.
Yep.
So again, good stuff. There's no abilities on this. It just allows you to, at instant speed, discard it to gain 2 life. So again, if you want to fill your graveyard up, you can dump these into your graveyard and gain a load of life on turn 1, which I think is pretty good. Because you don't want to be blocking. There's loads of instances of what you can do. You can gain life, you can block with it if you want, but and it attacks quite well as well. So just a nice little card, which has some different applications.
I think this card's really good as well. It's another 3 for 7. 3 for 7 with a relevant ability in limited is just like crazy good. So this is crazy good. This is going to be a high draft pick for sure. Like the red one specifically. I also like to note in the artwork, we have some people just kind of like eating some fruits and stuff. There's a meep going to steal like an apple or something. But in the background, if you look, you can see Oldham, Lexi, Briar, and Yorick just kind of like just grooving. So just I don't know, randomly in the background of this common card. Yeah.
Yeah. The cool thing about this card that people have pointed out is that this is actually an upgrade for Starvo.
Oh yeah, it is. Oh
the green Fruits of the Forest is literally strictly better than Evergreen, which was the Earth card that they were using previously. It's like still a 3 for 5 that blocks 2, but Evergreen like kind of actually doesn't have text, whereas Fruits of the Forest does. And you can discard it during turn 1 to like help mulligan. Yeah, it's like actually a strict upgrade for Starvo.
Gets around dominate stuff because it still gains you the life effectively. Yeah.
Gets around dominate stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
so there you go.
Starvo stonks. Hey, Bill, how about you read the next one?
That one's Harvest Season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't believe we've seen that one. Yeah. So Harvest Season, Earth Action Aura common. So it's the full cycle. 1 cost, 2 block. They all have go again. And then at the beginning of your action phase, sorry, I said that a little bit weird. It's a 1 cost Earth Action Aura with go again. And then at the beginning of your action phase, destroy this, then gain 3 life or 2 life or 1 life. This one is weird. I'm less excited about this one than Fruits of the Forest. It does like there is technically things that interact within the set with like gaining life and whatever, specifically Verdance, obviously. This is also like an Earth action, so you know there's not fuse shenanigans, but this does work with like Decompose if you block with it, or I guess even if you do play it out and it breaks. Not excited about this one. I think this is going to be just more of a draft thing to keep Verdance together.
Yeah.
But yeah, because like gaining 3 next turn is kind of a funny prospect when you could technically not have a next turn.
Right. Yeah.
You play it out and your opponent just kills you before it breaks, and it's like, okay, cool.
This card to me is like, this is one of those situations where I feel like the red and the yellows probably aren't the ones that you want to be playing. You probably want to be playing the blues just for pitch value and because it's an Earth card, and then early game you can, or even late game, you can just gain the 1 life and ping the damage or whatever, you know? I agree with Bill. It's not very exciting. But
yeah, I mean, there's a couple of things you could turn your sword on by playing this. You've played an aura, so your Rotwood thing gets +2. So you could you could play one of these. You play the red one, for instance, pitch a blue. You then can go again. You've played an aura, so then you can swing the sword, and at the start of your next turn, you would crack it and then gain 3 life. So there's certain little weird things and lines you can achieve with it, but yeah, it's not one of those ones that stands out.
Yeah, I mean, like, you could do that, and that gives you like 7 points of value, right? 4 from the attack and 3 from the life gain. But you could also just attack with Fruits of the Forest. like
exactly.
In limited, like you're just like, I just take the Fruits of the Forest, or you'll take the Cadaverous Tilling instead because they're just better. But I guess like, you know, it's limited, so sometimes you got to play with the bad cards. So this might be one of them. All right, so I think I'm up next. We got Strong Yield. This is an Earth Action Aura. 1 drop. This one's go again. At the beginning of your action phase, destroy this. Then your next attack this turn gets +3. I like this one because I like the damage. Give me the big numbers. Give me the big chungus. Yeah. This is a 1 for +3, but it's like on layaway. Yeah, I think this is a decent limited card. Important to note that it's not your next attack. It's at the beginning of your action phase you destroy this, so this banks it for the next turn. It feels very Guardian like actually in that a lot of that regards. How Guardians really have these auras that bank damage for the next turn. But I do think this is actually going to be quite strong and limited, because you can set up something where you play this, you know, maybe attack with your sword or whatever, do a little bit of damage, but what you're really doing is you're setting up your big 7 attack in your arsenal to just punch him for 10, right? And that's where the turns are gonna really swing in your favor in limited. So specifically in limited, I think this card's pretty good, and it's just an Earth card, and you'll need a bunch of Earth cards. So yeah.
I agree. I think it's very reminiscent of a lot of the Guardian auras that are like, I get to do this thing later. Yep. And doing damage on your next turn feels a lot more impactful than just gaining life, especially if you're not doing anything else. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think this is like a fine limited card, like you're saying.
Yeah, it's not great, but it's like, I'll play it for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
All right. The next one.
Next is a Flash of Brilliance. So this is a lightning equipment head, blocks for 1. When this defends, you may discard a lightning card. If you do, return an aura you control to its owner's hand. So an aura you control to its owner's hand.
Yeah.
So what could you do with this with the current cards? I'm just trying to figure out.
So
if you could.
You guys mentioned some older cards. So this is going to be for older stuff for constructed, less for limited. But there are those auras that we mentioned before that, like, at the beginning of your turn, you remove a counter and you create like a rune chant or whatever. Mm-hmm. When it gets down to the last counter before it's destroyed, you can do something like that. So you can block with this and then bounce it back to your hand to get more value out of it. Yeah. That or if they make auras that have like ETB effects, like, oh, when you play this aura or when it enters or whatever, you do something. So I think that's likely what this is getting at. Like, you want to do something with those type of effects. This is a common. So I mean, like, maybe it's good in like commoner or something. I don't know. Yeah.
So the one thing that I did see, and I can't take credit for this, I think Yuki was the one that tweeted out, but if you bounce an aura back to your hand, it's kind of just chi.
Okay, sort of, yeah.
You could just, like, if you have like a blue aura that's in play or whatever,
that's
and
true.
You end up blocking like more than you're anticipating, you could be like, okay, I'm gonna bounce this back so that I still like have a turn. Like, I can still pitch for something. Or you can just say, hey, I want a bunch of resources.
Oh, okay. You know what? Oh, hold up. Maybe Az and I just realized the same thing at the same time. Go for it, Az. So then I'll go with what I said.
Yeah. So I was just thinking of the sigils, because when they leave the arena, you get the thing. So you could just bounce the sigils back to your hand, and then you get the things that they leave behind.
Oh, yeah, it's just when they leave. Yeah. So you still get the value from it, but you just get it back. Yep. So the sigils are really good with this.
So yeah, you're getting, you know, on this Flash of Brilliance, maybe there's some other cards that haven't been spoiled yet, or on this list somewhere, which will flash things back to hand. Which, well, no, it's not quite blinking in Magic. Is when you like get rid of it and then put it back into play to get the enter the battlefield effect. Not quite that, but similar to that, where you're blinking things out of existence. And blink is a card, by the way, which you should go and get.
It's pretty good. It just gives you an action point.
Gives you an action point.
You know what also? So I was going to say the sigils. You know what also is great to bounce back to your hand to reset? Any of the channels, like Channel Lightning Valley, that get those those counters on it. And then you can get value, then return it to your hand, and then play it on your next turn to reset your counters, basically.
Getting to reset a Channel Lake Frigid.
You could do that with Lexi. Yeah, I was gonna say this is a lightning equipment, but you could do that with Lexi. Technically Starvo too, I guess.
Oh God.
Yeah. So
save me.
Interesting. I think Yui is the one who spoiled this one too. So shout out to Yui.
Fantastic.
All right. Next card. We have, this art is rad as hell. This is Blast to Oblivion. It's a 0 for 4 lightning attack action, blocks for 2. It has the full red, yellow, blue. So it's a 0 for 4, 0 for 3, 0 for 2. And its actual effect, it says, when this attacks, the next time you play an instant card this chain link, you may return target or a permanent with cost 1 or less, or target or a token to its owner's hand. And then it says in parentheses, an aura token ceases to exist. So this is another way to bounce auras back. Yeah, this is a really interesting card. So it's a 0 for 4. And then it has like basically the 2 effects, right? You can, well, it has 1 effect, but you have to have another card is what I'm trying to get at. You have to have an instant. So you have to play this and then also play an instant. And then when you do play the instant, you get a bounce an aura permanent that costs 1 or less, or a token to its owner's hand. So you can choose your opponent's auras if you want to. If they have like a whatever kind of aura, maybe they got a pondered token or something. You can bounce it back to the hand, or you could bounce back your Channel Lightning Valley, which is a 0 drop, or you can bounce back your, what we mentioned earlier, your sigil, like your Sigil of Cycles, which is the one that when it leaves, you can discard a card and draw a card. So yeah, this seems pretty good. This seems pretty good. And there's a lot of instants that you will want to play. There's the dual, the split cards, but we also talked about like Lightning Press and the new not Lightning Press. There's a bunch of instants that you can do. So this card seems good.
Blink as well. Blink as well, right? After you play Blink after this, you get to do the thing, and then you go again, basically, because you get an action point back.
Yep. Yeah. So, Blink is just a 0 drop, gain an action point instant, lightning instant.
Yeah. So you just play something afterwards as well, and still do all the stuff, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. You can play the aura again. If you bounce an aura, you can just play it, drop it on the field again if you want.
Yeah. Drop it again. Just go again. Absolutely.
Yeah. This card. I think this card's good. It's also a rare, by the way. So. Card you can pick up in limited pretty easily, and I do like the flexibility of this one in particular, being able to bounce your opponent's stuff. So yeah. Yep.
Nice.
Like goozle their turn and bounce their like go again aura token. You know, if they have a quicken token or if they have the embodiment of lightning, just yeet that. I don't know, seems cool.
Yeah,
definitely.
All right, next card.
There's quite a few cards, isn't there? Just realised we're only halfway through this page. Holy hell!
Well, we can go through some of these.
There's quite a few.
We can go through some of these pretty quickly because they're starting to get like basic common stuff. So we can maybe speed run some of these.
Yeah. So a couple of these are just like generic go again attacks, like Fry. So it's just 0 for 3, 2, and 1 with go again lightning action. Flittering charge is if you've played an instant card this turn, this gets go again. Coming in for 2, 3, and 4 for 0 cost. They all block for 2, those ones. So just go again attacks in lightning. That's those, really.
Yeah, the 0 for 4 ones are pretty good. Like any times where you can like mimic a Scar for a Scar, it's pretty good. So this one, the flittering charge is pretty good. There's Second Strike. This one is a 0 for 3, and when it attacks, if you've dealt damage this turn, it gets +1 and go again. So another kind of a Scar for a Scar kind of situation. I think this one's like really, really good. Especially if you like
shocks, shocks and that.
Yeah, just ping them for 1 arcane, or if you've got like a little piddly weapon that has go again, you poke them for 1, and then this is a 0 for 4 go again. This one's a common, by the way, so this is going to be a real good one to get in limited. We have Trip the Light Fantastic, which is an insane card name. That's the name of the card. The card is called Trip the Light Fantastic. 1 drop, lightning action attack. This is a 1 for 5 instant. Discard this. Prevent the next 2 damage that will be dealt to you this turn. I actually should have had Bill. Cool. I should have Bill read this. I should have had Bill read this one because this is what I was alluding to earlier when we were talking about ways that they would, help mitigate arcane damage. And I think we proposed, and I think Bill's the one who did this, something almost exactly like this. Like this, what this actually does is it like blocks 2 arcane. Like instead of blocking physical, this literally just blocks 2 arcane because you discard this like you would be for blocking, and then you prevent the next 2 damage to be dealt to you. And this normally blocks for 2. So,
yeah. So it's kind of nice because it allows the red and the yellow to still be effective like just as effective as they would be against arcane, but then you're not gated. You're not gated by your arcane barrier. So yeah, I think that this is quite good. Like obviously the blue ends up being better if you do have, if it's like 3 individual instances of arcane and you have 1 AB, or if you have 3 total AB, you could pitch this and prevent more than what the discard is. But that requires a much steeper deck building cost than just having this and saying, okay, this blocks 2 arcane damage essentially.
Yep.
So yeah, I like this a lot actually. I like the design.
Yeah, I think the blue one in particular is really good for, we're talking about limit a lot, but these are all commons and rares, so it's going to be mostly used in limited. And I think the blue one in limited is going to be really great because I don't think we're going to have much arcane barrier.
Yep.
So, yeah.
I think so too.
Next card. That was the Mushroom Lightning. Did we already talk about Sigil of Lightning? I think we did, right?
I think in passing
so.
we might have done, yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's just another sigil. This one's an instant aura, and when it leaves, you get a lightning token. So, or embodiment of lightning token. So this could be one of the ones that you kind of like bounce back to your hand and play later and get more go again kind of shenanigans. It's a common, so it seems like a pretty good role player for like a consistent go again.
Yep.
Anyone want to read the bodice? We have a bodice here.
Blood torn bodice. This is Runeblade chest equipment. It certainly is. And it's action: destroy this and an aura you control to gain a resource and go again. Like the effect has go again. So
Yeah.
interesting. The cost is a little steep, I think. Like unless you're getting a ton of extras. I mean, Florian technically does make additional rune chants and just other auras in general once he's online. So like that kind of makes this free later in the game. But I feel like a lot of the time you're not sort of going to be overflowing with auras that you really want to get rid of just to gain a resource. But I don't think it's necessarily bad. I think this is definitely a limited piece. But yeah, I mean, getting a resource when you need it, in like basically in exchange for 1 potential, let's say, arcane damage, it's usually better to have the resource than to not. And it is optional, so it's not like you have to, obviously.
Yeah.
If it's like, well, I would much prefer to have the 1 arcane damage this turn, then you could just not activate this. But then, you're in the same spot that you would have been without this card. So I don't know. I think it's definitely limited. It's probably better options.
Yeah.
Obviously, just thinking about this in the context of other cards, this is worse than
Blossom of Spring.
What's the one? Blossom of Spring. That's the one.
Yeah, which is just like action, destroy it, gain a resource, go again. Like it's literally the same thing, except you don't have to destroy the aura, and it's generic, not Runeblade. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I don't want to say it's strictly worse because I guess there are some corner cases where this could be useful in destroying your own auras. So, for example, we already mentioned them before, but the sigils, you can destroy the sigil and make use of the leave effect immediately. So, like Sigil of Cycles, for example, you could play your Sigil of Cycles, but it doesn't get destroyed until the beginning of your action phase. So if you want to trigger it immediately, you can go Sigil of Cycles and then immediately destroy it and get your resource from your chess piece and then trigger the effect. Like, so I can see some use cases for it in limited. In constructed, there's way more powerful options, right? You're not going to be doing that, I don't think.
I guess also technically, if you're playing against rangers, you can use this to destroy the like frailty token.
That's true. Oh, that is true. That's funny. That is kind of funny. Get out of here, inertia token. That's kind of funny.
Do you know what I just thought of as well?
What?
What if some of these bombs that haven't been released yet are affliction auras? Like Frost Hex.
Oh, okay. But okay.
There seems to be a lot of return auras to your hand or destroy an aura. So maybe there's a couple of Majestics or something in there which will be similar to Frost Hex, where you curse your opponent or curse your opponent to have detrimental effects, detrimental auras.
The key part to that will be seeing who technically controls the aura, because this is very specific. It has to you have to destroy an aura you control. So if there's a
So the affliction enters the arena under an opposing hero's control.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
X reads.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah.
So you could blow up Rosex, which is kind of funny. Yeah. I mean, okay, so maybe this is like a sick like sideboard tech versus like hexes if they become a thing. I don't know. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So that's my cold shot without seeing the rest of the set is that we're going to get an affliction aura in this set, because that's the only thing we've seen.
Actually.
My running theory is that Necromancer is kind of like an affliction curse type class. So
Necromancer's in the set. We haven't seen it yet.
Hidden Necromancer, fifth hero in the set. It's going to be in
that would be really cool
expansion slot.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be
100% Necromancer confirmed. 100% Necromancer confirmed.
100% Necromancer. Oh, I can't even do it. 100% Necromancer confirmed.
Confirmed.
Yep.
Also, just the art on this card as well is awesome. It would if Miss Chalice was still making FAB content or cosplay, I reckon she would do this 100%.
Confirmed.
But yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to the next one. Who read the bodice? I don't remember who did the bodice. Who wants to do this one? Yeah. Who wants to read Runehold Release?
Runehold Release. Yeah, okay. This Runeblade Equipment Arms says action, destroy this, create a rune chant token. Go again. So nowhere near as good as Vexing Malice.
It's literally worse.
Vexing Quillhand.
Yeah, Vexing Quillhand was which is just creates 2 and also just at instant speed and also has AB.
Yeah.
So I think this
is just the limited version, sealed version.
Yeah, I think this one actually is just strictly worse in like every way. Like unlike where the other one we can find some corner case, I think this one's just not great. You played unlimited.
Definitely.
Yeah, played unlimited.
It's like, I don't know how expensive Vexing Quillhand is. Technically a budget option, I guess. Like you now have the access to half of the effect in Commoner.
Commoner, I guess, yeah, because Vexing Quillhand's a majestic. It's probably like $1 card or $2. Like I can't imagine it's monetarily expensive.
Yeah.
All right, let's read. Oh, dude, the art in this one looks sick. I have not. So there's a lot of these I have not actually read or seen. So yeah, this is Splintering Deadwood, a 3-drop, 7 attack, 3 block. Yo, this card's sick. When this attacks or hits, you can destroy an aura you control. If you do, create a rune chant. Yo, this card's sick. I like this card.
Yeah.
3 for 7, blocks 3, has a semi-relevant effect that can trigger twice, because it says when this attacks or hits. So you can do this on attack and on a hit. And then it also creates 2 rune chant tokens if you blow up 2 things. I don't know. This card seems real good. I like this one.
4 if you've got Florian active, right?
Yeah, actually, yeah. Well, yeah.
When it attacks, you get a rune chant, and if you don't,
you just get 2.
You get a rune.
Because this is just if you do create a rune chant token, so you wouldn't create 1 for each instance. I think this is you just create 1 if you do the thing before.
I don't think so, because it would be. I think so, because when it attacks, you would get the opportunity to activate or to pay for the cost, which would be to destroy an aura you control. Then you've created a rune chant, and then when this hits, it would then also trigger.
That's true, because it's so it'll create the rune chant on attack, and then it'll create a rune chant on hit. Okay, so I lied. 4 rune chants,
and then with Florian. With Florian, you would get to double each of them. Which is funny, because then you could technically just turn this into a read the runes that attacks by if the first one gets doubled, then by the time the attack hits, you have 2. You just sacrifice one of those and create 2 more, and you have 3.
That's true. That is true.
So you've turned 1 other aura into 3 rune chants and an attack.
Bro, the art in this card is sick too, and it was like Mordred Tide. This is like just even more. Yo, if you have not bought your Mordred Tides, you need to go buy your Mordred Tides, because it's just so good with all this stuff. This is also a rare and comes in yellow and blue with less attack each. So 3 for 5, 3 for 6. So Seems good. This card seems kind of cracked. You can technically play this in Aurora too, because it's just a Runeblade card. So I think it's better in Florian for sure. But I mean, in Limited, it's 3 for 7. Do it.
Yeah, you can just turn your embodiments of lightning into rune chants if you want to.
This guy's
actually no. So if you attack with this, then.
Yeah.
If when you attack with this, before the embodiment triggers, you can then choose to sacrifice the embodiment to get a rune chant. Is that right?
Yeah, because they both trigger at the same time. So you would then just choose. But if you're not, I think if you're not able to destroy the embodiment, you wouldn't get its effect because I think it has to destroy itself. So yeah, you would then be able to basically trade its effect for making a rune chant if you wanted to do that. As far as I know.
Yeah, so you wouldn't be able to play this, gain, go again. No, yeah, you have to.
Yeah, I don't think you can double dip. I think you get to choose which one.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you don't need the go again, then it means that you're not just wasting a keyword, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, exactly. So you're just cashing it in for damage, just in case you can't go again or whatever. You're just you're just trading it for a damage later on when you can attack again. So yeah, could be useful in there. Next one is Vantage Point. So this is another Runeblade action attack. Some big beefy Runeblade attacks in this.
It's so good. What the hell?
Huge beefy Runeblade attacks. 3 cost, blocks for 3. All of these block for 3 apparently. And it says attacks for 7, 6, or 5 depending on the pitch value. If you've played or created an aura this turn, this gets overpower. So yeah, we get an evasion now on Runeblade cards as well.
It's another 3 for 7 block 3 with a relevant effect. This card's really good, bro. I have a feeling that this limited format's going to be powerful. There's a lot of 3 for 7s that we've seen. A lot of like 4 cost or 0 for 4 go agains. Like there's just going to be a lot of big numbers, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. This card's good. It's good. Good limited card.
Playing or creating an aura is pretty easy as well.
Interesting. I'm just reading the next card. Here, the next card is called Condemned to Slaughter. It's a 1-drop go again Runeblade action, blocks for 3. Your next Runeblade attack this turn gets +3, so it will apply to weapons. You may destroy an aura you control. If you do, each opponent also destroys a aura permanent they control. Go again. So this is a 1 for +3 that also you can do some aura shenanigans. There's a lot of like destroying your own auras going on here. Definitely. I think this card's like also. I think this card's also like not bad. This is one of those situations where we've had cards similar before that are like, oh, your next Runeblade attack gets +3, and so with something like Nebula Blade. This is really good because it's you pitch a blue and then your Nebula Blade attacks for 7. So this turns your Nebula Blade into a 3 for 7, which is really good.
Yep.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, this was our preview card. I think it is very strong. It sucks if you're playing Prism and you see this card. There is
dude.
Technically there is a universe. I think it's pretty unlikely, even though this is what I clickbaited it with. I think the chances of this exact situation happening are very slim, but there's a universe in which you trade a rune chant for an Arclight Sentinel. Like really usually they'll have other auras in play alongside an Arclight Sentinel, but there's always a chance. So
you could even
if this just kills something with ward early before you attack, hell yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this card's pretty good. I think this one's one of the ones that I think is really good and limited. And it might be constructed playable depending on what's going on. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's definitely I think it is definitely a good sideboard card. In my opinion.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of if there's illusionists running around, there's a whole Runeblade army that can now come after the illusionists with all of these new cards. So
Yeah.
This might not be in the same spot they were before, with a bunch of Rune Blades running around, with a bunch of new cards from this set, plus Aura Hate, clearly. So yeah.
All right, so we got like a bunch more. So let's next up we have. Do you want me to just read these, or do we still want to alternate? Because we got a lot.
Well, is there anything on here which is unique? Because the rest of this stuff is like, if you've played an Aura, it gets buff. When you attack, get a Rune Charm.
Yeah, so we have Malefic Incantation. It's a 0-drop Rune Blade action Aura. This one has Go Again. This is one of the cards that gives you rune chance over time. So this says this enters the arena with 3 verse counters on it. When it has none, destroy it. Once per turn, when you play an attack action card, remove a verse counter from it. If you do, create a rune chant token. So this could be one of the ones that you want to bounce back to your hand and then play again, because then you can get those verse counters. So this is a good, like, you know, recurring synergy type of card. And it's just a 0 for it's just a 0 cost Rune Blade action with Go Again. That also has Aura, so it works well with Florian's like weapon in limited. And there is a yellow and a blue. They do the exact same thing. They just have less verse counters. Blue just comes into play with 1 verse counter. Yellow 2, red 3.
Yeah, so it's basically just a rune blood incantation that triggers on attack, rather than at the start of your turn you just get a rune chant from removing a verse counter. So it's just a more aggressive version of that sort of constant rune chant generation.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to know Hank's opinion on that, because he's playing a Turtle Burst Viscerai deck. So do you want to use this, Hank? You're not attacking much. So
yeah, this will pop all your rune chants, but it's a 0-drop that has Go Again. So I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's kind of counterproductive then.
Yeah.
If you're going for the big OTK Turtle Burst sort of style thing, every time you attack, you're blowing up your rune chants anyway. So this is more of a aggro-y sort of type thing. But yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Yeah, I think this card's really good in Vincent specifically.
Oh yeah, it could be it.
We have
every time you're rune getting something, you're then getting another rune chant. Yeah, that's a good idea actually.
You get to like rebuy a rune chant, which actually seems pretty good.
Yep. Here, I'll go through quickly all the other cards, or at least the rune chant cards, so we get some rune blade cards until we get something interesting. So hit the high notes. It's a 1/4 block 3. If you played or created an aura, it gets +2. It's just a common, so it could be a 1/6 if you played or created an aura. So this is just going to be like a limited card, draft card. Hocus Pocus, great art, great name. 0/3, blocks 3. When it attacks, create a rune chant token. That's all it does. Very similar to some of the old rune chant cards that were just like, oh, when this attacks, create a rune chant token. But it's a 0/3, so it's kind of like a 0/4, but it doesn't have Go Again or anything like that. So once again, very limited card. Rune Rager Swarm, 0/3. If you've played or created an aura this turn, this gets Go Again, but it blocks for 3. I was gonna say this is a terrible head jab, but it's a head jab that sometimes is a head jab and also blocks for 3. Also, once again, limited card.
These attacks. These attacks are blocked for 3. It's crazy. It's pretty good.
Wow.
Yeah. So, 0/3 with conditional Go Again. Doesn't seem super great. Limited card. In fact, even in limited, I don't know if I will pick this very highly. Arcane Cussing, which is funny. 1 drop is a Screaming Head in a jar. This one is a 2-block. It's just an action aura. Go Again. When you deal or are dealt damage, destroy this. When it leaves the arena during your turn, create 3 rune chant tokens. So this is another one of the cards that you want to destroy actively on your own turn, either through your own card effect or by somehow taking, I don't know, instant speed damage if your opponent is wizarding it up. But I think the most use case scenario for this is that you play it and then you do one of your own card effects to destroy it. It is an aura, so you could trigger it off of Bill's card, right? You can destroy the aura you control, get the yada yada, which will then pump up your next attack. So, yep. That's what the cussing does.
I will say I wasn't quite expecting. I didn't realize that there were this many cards. I do have to go in like 10 minutes.
Okay.
So we may have to put a pin in this and pick it up on the next. Next one.
You know, what we could do is we're right at the end of the
Rune Blades.
Actually, there's not very well. There's a couple wizard ones. Let's finish the Rune Blade one. There's like one more Rune Blade card.
Yeah.
That's Deadwood Dirge. It's just a 0-drop. Destroy an aura you control. If you do, create 3 rune chant tokens with Go Again. So it's basically a read the runes with a conditional modifier, but it also has Go Again. So if you have a if you have an aura, you can destroy it and then create 3 rune chants and has Go Again. I actually like this card quite a bit. I think it's pretty good. The fact that it has Go Again is quite good. I think this is a card that Hank will probably want to play in his big Viscerai deck. Yeah,
I think so. Yeah.
Let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the art is pretty funny. It's just some dude playing the piano or something. So pianos exist in Wraith apparently, and this dude's going to town. And then after that, we just have some wizard stuff, and I guess we can talk about the wizard stuff next week. They're going to be all very similar. They're all like 0 for 3s and some other.
Yeah. As a preview for it, Zap got power crept like a billion times in this set. I think there's now a list where you can just run Zaps like for the full 60 cards.
Yeah, I think you can run an Emperor deck that's just all red Zaps. So yeah, so we'll cut the spoilers short here. We'll talk about the wizard stuff next week. We'll still have a couple minutes to go into our arsenal if we want to. I have a quick one, and it's really video gamey related. Yeah, but if you guys have one, okay, cool. Well, what do I want to say? I've been playing and getting into, or just replaying some video games. Namely, I've from this weird stream of things of watching this YouTuber who is a British dude who does these series of games. He's just like, were they any good or whatever? And I've been watching a bunch of his stuff. And then through that, he did Neverwinter Nights. Was it actually any good? And I was like, oh, I love Neverwinter Nights. And I watched his 2-hour long video on it. And I'm like, I want to replay this. So I re-downloaded Neverwinter Nights, which is one of my favorite games of all time. Specifically the 2 expansions, Shadows of Undertide and Hordes of the Underdark. The initial campaign for Neverwinter Nights is not great, but the 2 expansions are actually amazing. Some of the best RPG, D&D kind of stuff. So if you're out there and you're like, I've played a lot of Baldur's Gate 3, I want to play something else. If you're into more retro style stuff, Neverwinter Nights, very good. Neverwinter Nights 2, also very, very good. So would recommend those. And then the other thing is I've kind of gone through Warhammer phases where I'm like, I buy a bunch of Warhammer stuff and I just never built it. And I bought all of the things to build stuff and I just never built it. And after talking last week and chatting in the Rogues Gallery community Discord, I literally was like, hey, I don't have time to build this, so I'm just going to put it out there in case does anyone know anyone who will paint my stuff? Who will build and paint the stuff? I know that's a thing. And then one of our regular community members, she was like, I know a guy. Let me get you in contact. And so we have gotten into contact. And long story short, I sent him yesterday my Command Edition for Warhammer 40k to just get built and painted. Command Edition is one of the older starter sets. And so what my goal here is to just get the starter set all painted. It comes with the terrain too, so I'll have a starter set, terrain, all this kind of good stuff ready to go, and then I will actually officially learn how to play Warhammer 40k in person with this. And if I get into it more, I can finally build my own Adeptus Sororitas stuff that I have not sent off to get painted. So getting the starter set done first, and then I'm going to be like, hey, brother, I have a brother, and I'm going to be like, dude, come play Warhammer with me. So
nice.
Yeah, that's my arsenal step. Video games, mostly Neverwinter Nights, and then finally getting my Warhammer 40k stuff painted. So, yes.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Fantastic. Cool. I'll just riff off that then. I got the Age of Sigmar Spearhead box set for the Seraphon, which is the lizard folk. Which comes quite a few models in there. Like a unit of Saurus warriors, Croxagores, and then a Old Blood riding a Carnosaur. So I'm going to be picking up some paint, picking up some glue, and getting those together as well. I'm just going to be getting into it a little bit. So yeah, that's it really. I just thought I'd riff off of you a little bit there.
Hell yeah. I might do the same thing for AOS as well. I might buy like a starter kit and then have someone paint it and build it for me so I can learn how to play that too, because I really want to play AOS as well. So we'll see.
Yeah. Spearhead's a nice little quick format you can get into, so you can get little boxes for each faction for that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all we've got time for today, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't really have much. I have been getting back into Diablo 4.
Oh, it's good. It's really good.
Because we were talking about it a little bit last week, and then I like sort of kind of knew that one of my friends still played a bunch of Diablo 4, and I talked to her a little while ago, and I was like, I played it since like launch, and the launch was only like okay.
It was all right.
And she was like, yeah, there's been a bunch of patches and now it's good. I'm like, oh, okay, so exactly what happened with Diablo 3. Cool.
It's like really good. No, it's really good.
Yeah. I just hit level 50.
Okay.
So getting closer to like the end-ish game content. I like the fact that you can skip the campaign. That's very nice.
Skip the campaign, jump into the seasonal stuff. I have two level 100 characters this season, and one of them I got my first Uber unique on. I got the Ring of Starless Skies, so
sweet.
It's one of the insanely hard to get drop uniques. So
hell yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Anyway, that's really that's about it for me. So yeah.
What class are you playing before we go?
Sorcerer.
Oh, good choice.
Chain Lightning.
Yeah.
Chain Lightning Sorcerer.
Sorc real
Just a
good.
nice, easy one to get in. And yeah, I do think I want to do a Barbarian. I love Barbarians, but just wanted something that was pretty straightforward. Just throw gobs of lightning at people, and it's been going really smoothly. So
nice. That's what Robin plays Sorcerer. I mained Rogue this season, but I also have a Barbarian as well, which is very good. Well, Barbarian's not as good this season as it used to be, but that's another thing. Anyway,
yeah.
Well, that has been us for the Living Legends podcast. Thank you all for watching this 2 hours and some change long video. Next week we'll be back talking about the rest of the spoilers for Rosetta, because we should have a lot more. In addition to the wizard cards that we didn't talk about today, we should have a lot more as well.
I think it should be just about all of them at that point.
All the ones that they plan on spoiling, yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yep, next week we'll have a bunch more Rosetta to talk about, and we hope you join us for that. Until then, you can go find us all at our social media stuff. Bill, where can folks find you?
I am Bill from the Spike Feeders and from the Living Legends podcast. You can find me on social media at BillTSF. You can also find me on YouTube at the Spike Feeders FAB, where we do live edited gameplay content. And if you are interested in Magic as well, there's also the main channel where we do a lot of Commander content, and recently specifically like new main set content, which has been a lot of fun. Playing precons is actually like kind of what I enjoy doing now. So
yeah.
Hey,
nice.
Yeah.
Not to like loop it in too much with the Warhammer stuff, but I kind of re-sleeved up all of my Warhammer precons. So all the 40k precons. So yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. Az, where can people find you?
Go Again Gaming on YouTube, and then Go Again Gaming AZ on Twitter. I've just posted a little Twitter post on there saying, when you do a podcast for years, you all end up looking the same, with a nice screenshot of us all. We're all wearing dark shirts, glasses, and long hair with some form of facial hair.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna grow it back out. I didn't like my previous haircut, so I'm growing it back out. Sort of long, not super long, medium.
Yeah.
What do I want to go for?
Fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I've been Kel, Red Zone Rogue at Red Zone Rogue everywhere, YouTube and Twitter mostly. I talk about most recently a lot of Bushiroad games and Grand Archive, but sometimes Flesh and Blood and other stuff over on Red Zone Rogue, depending on how I'm feeling about stuff, and I can post memes and other garbage on my Twitter. A lot of the times, if I want to be serious, it's talking about the card game industry. So if you want to go follow that, go ahead and do that. And we'll see you next time for some more Flesh and Blood content here on the Living Legends podcast. Like I said, lots of more Rosetta stuff in the back pocket coming next week. We'll see you then. Bye, everyone.
Make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, that too.
To the
Do that.
podcast.